Stop. Yes, you. The person who was about to write a snarky comment where you just type the word yes or some variance thereof before exiting out of the video. Stop. The rest of you can carry on, but if you're that person, hold up and just give me a second. After that, you may be as snarky as you like. Okay? We good? Alright. Now, that being said, hey guys, Ryan here. So this past week there was a medium-sized controversy after a gameplay video surfaced from VentureBeat where one of the writers was shown playing Cuphead and, was a little more than terrible at it. This unsurprisingly led to no shortage of jeering and mockery of the journalist in question, with plenty of people telling him that if he's bad at a video game, then he has no right to be a journalist. This isn't exactly a new complaint. The idea that games journalists are ubiquitously terrible at games and therefore worthy of being removed from their positions is a long-standing complaint. And because of that, I do think it's a complaint worth examining. So let's just ask it flat out. Do game journalists, and especially game reviewers, need to be good at games to qualify for their job? Before we answer that question, I feel we have to ask another question first. What is the job of a games journalist and game reviewer? After all, if we're going to say that that skill is needed for the job, then we should at least take a moment to figure out what the job is. So, for my money, here's what those jobs tend to entail from what I've gathered. Games journalists report on the daily happenings of the game industry, including new releases and announcements, general current events, and from time to time, think pieces and special interest stories, such as what's going on in a smaller gaming subculture. If we work off of this definition, then it definitely does require a passion for games without question, but not necessarily a skill for them. You don't need to be good at games to write about or enjoy them. It's definitely a potentially useful skill to have, but it's nowhere near as important as things like writing ability and professional responsibility. I mean, let's be honest, you don't need to be a Mario 64 speedrunner to report on the fact that Mario Odyssey will be out late October. It's interesting to hear what a 64 speedrunner has to say about Odyssey, but we don't need one to tell us the game's release date. But what about game reviewers? Surely they have to be good at video games if they want to give us proper reviews, right? Well, look, I want to say that I personally am someone that considers myself to be good at games. Really good, in fact. I'll present my qualifications in a minute, but I want to make that really clear because I personally have a vested interest in hearing opinions from high-skilled gamers about games they find satisfying because they tend to like the same shit I do. Those are the reviewers I look for personally. That being said, gaming has a problem that no other art form has to deal with to nearly the same degree, that some people literally cannot comfortably complete its works. A large number of people simply find our best and most important works completely unapproachable, in a way they simply cannot afford the time or energy to deal with. Now, this isn't to say no other medium has this problem. All mediums have their difficult works. The Holy Mountain is famously cryptic. James Joyce literally makes up his own language. And swans are a thing. However, these tend to be works that are almost intentionally abrasive and challenging. Things that actively seek to be difficult for the audience to work through and challenge their expectations. However, in gaming, even the most populist works can be challenging to go through for the casual consumer. I mean, the original Super Mario Bros. Is among the most famous games ever. But for someone who's unfamiliar with the title, it can easily prove to be painfully difficult. Believe it or not, the game is pretty hard by modern standards. And this is one of gaming's most important and basic works. One of our most famous and renowned games is also one of the hardest to engage with, and this isn't rare. Games are universally hard to the layman. Without question, they are definitely harder to consume than the average film, book, or album. If you've ever handed a controller to your parent, you know this is true. Games are complex by their very nature. They contain tons of potential pauses and even roadblocks, and this inherently makes their level of accessibility lower than other art forms. So, let's be blunt. A lot of people who play games aren't that good at games. The majority of people in the world will struggle beating Dark Souls, Super Mario, and so on, and there is nothing, I repeat, nothing wrong with that. Those people not only have every right to engage with and enjoy the artworks we love, but in fact their doing so should make us all happy. When it comes to great works of art, I want as many people as possible to experience the joy or insight they bring into my life, be that an album, an anime, or yes, a game. I want people to experience the things that have positively affected me, because honestly, I think everyone deserves to have as many positive experiences as humanly possible. However, what positively affects one person may not inherently positively affect another. This is where taste, personal values, and, more relevantly, reviewers come in. As we've established, most people are averagely skilled at games. After all, that's what average means. The standard player is average by definition. Those standard players deserve average skilled reviewers to explain, examine, and report the experience they'll most likely have. I know the think of the casuals defense isn't exactly popular, but it's true. We may laugh at this footage, but if he struggled with it, then other players undoubtedly would have as well. And honestly, it says to me that Studio MDHR could improve on their tutorial to open up their game to as many people as possible without changing anything else in the later game. Even without going into the economic reasons as to why they're important, let's try to not forget that low-skilled players are ultimately people, and they deserve to have enjoyable experiences that suit their taste. And the only way to do that in gaming is through proper review. I want to be clear though, I am of course not saying that reviews from highly skilled gamers should go away. I mean, that's all I personally care about and follow if we're being honest. And people like me do deserve reviews as well, so that we know what the games we're looking at will give us in terms of skill cap and potential depth. But the fact of the matter is that every player deserves that, and that includes not only people like me, but literally everyone. So, to answer the question we originally came here to discuss, I ultimately have to come to the answer of no. While being highly skilled at games can be very beneficial and definitely does have a place, I see no reason to believe that it should be required for someone to be a journalist or a reviewer. Lastly, I'd like to take a second to defend the writer himself. I haven't mentioned his name here because I don't even want to be partially responsible for even more harassment being thrown on them. I've seen the comments and trust me, they've been through enough. But I will say this, I am good at games. I am not trying to brag, but I feel like it's a fact of who I am. It's something I take a bit of pride in and have actively worked at. I've played multiple fighting games at a competitive level. I have platinum trophied every Souls game. I can easily play any song on Expert on Rock Band. I'm approaching all S ranks on Devil May Cry 4. I'm good at games. Not the best by any means, but I do think it's fair to say that I am good. However, if you sat me down for my job and requested that I play a Madden game, I have no doubt in my mind it would be a fucking train wreck. Because I do not play those games. Ever. To me, any given sports game is as dense and impenetrable as Finnegan's Wake. When I see this, I might as well be seeing this. What the fuck am I looking at? We're all bad at certain games. We all have our blind spots. So when someone admits they're terrible at a genre, instead of giving them shit for it, let's maybe believe them and give them a bit of a break for trying to play it at all. Doesn't mean you can't find the end result funny, but don't take it as a personal attack. None of us are perfect, and the least we can do is forgive each other for that fact. And let's definitely not use it as an excuse to harass people, yeah? Go on, watch the video, find it funny, I sure as hell do, it's pretty poor content, but can we please not use it as a reason to harass anyone? Please? Anyways, I think that about covers it for today. I realize this is a bit of a contentious subject, but so it goes. It is something that I do think needs to be talked about, and certainly hasn't been talked about enough. But this is one where I'd be really interested to hear what you think. There's definitely a lot of nuance to be had here, and there's a good chance you may think of something that I missed. Either way, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I love you all. Peace.